All right. Well, good morning. Really nice to see everyone. As always, thanks for joining. Thanks for being part of it. Uh, Pete Lowe spoke last week and I mentioned last week that he runs his Mavericks convention once a year in sort of major cities, and he's very kindly invited me to sit and be part of that. So straight at 8 on the dot, I'm gonna have to be in my car driving down to Five Dock here in Sydney to participate. So really looking forward to it. And I do hear Sam Raffaracci's joining. I can't see him on my home screen here, but I have seen him on. He's in his car. He's speaking at it today. So looking forward to it. So always awesome to see great people in our world just doing great things. And I actually love that. I just love movement in this space. I love guys like Pete that are actively doing something to encourage and bless and practically help Christian business people. And I'll always support people in our world that are doing that. So it's pretty cool. See, Byron Knowles is on. Byron, it was your birthday possibly yesterday. And because it was your birthday, I'm going to put you on the spot, get you to say hi to everyone quickly. I'm sorry to do it to you, mate, but do you want to unmute quickly, say a brief hello?
Yeah, goodbye. That was pretty brief, right? No. Morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Dan. Yep. Another year on the books with a whole lot more to go, I hope, and I'm believing for. So all good, mate. I appreciate that. I appreciate all the well wishes from everybody. I got quite a few of them, thanks to Stephanie, of course.
Yes, no doubt. Well, yeah, trust it was a great one, mate. Trust it'll be.
Yeah, if it were up to me, it would come and go completely unnoticed. But Steph likes to emphasize those things.
Yes, I can definitely relate. So, how's business been? How's everything that you're not traveling and things like that?
Yeah, good. I mean, as good as it can be. Not traveling is a little weird for me, but after a year, I guess you kind of get used to it if you can. But other than that, everything's going real good. We're just taking one day at a time, seeing what the next season brings, and believing in God to bring new miracles to everybody's way and see what that looks like in the new chapter, right?
Yeah. Very cool. And you're part of our Macquarie campus. Are you enjoying the new facilities down there?
It's just, there's no words. It's just so amazing. I mean, everybody was looking forward to it. Everybody was really anticipating, how great it's going to be and all that. But it's not until the reality is actually there that it sinks in of how impactful it really is to everybody, because it's such a next level for everything. Besides all the normal things that you put your finger on, there's something unspoken about it. It's like Steph said something yesterday. It's like renting all of your life, and all of a sudden you bought your first home and you actually own it. There's a feeling you get you just can't describe, and it's impacted everybody. From the pastors down, from the members, congregation, volunteers, everybody. They've just taken such a sense of pride, of ownership and belonging, because this has come as no small miracle. As you probably know, the building, the way that we did it, with the support from Kingdom Builders and all things that's happened, we're 100% paid for. It's just an amazing experience, and it's just really brought everybody to another level of a sense of family and belonging. So yeah, quite good.
Unreal, mate. Unreal. And very, very well said. You got me inspired about all the buildings that are yet to come. So I was actually there with your wife and Amanda. 2 days. When was it? Lost my bearings. Yeah, 2 days ago. And it was just such a nice facility. And I thought so many of our campuses need to scale to this level, which isn't beyond most of them, to be honest, that aren't there yet. So pretty cool, and cool to know that. Yeah, as the church, we still have a lot to do. So
there's lots to do, but I tell you, we're beyond blessed. I mean, it's just hard to envision, like I say, the magnitude of what all it really means. It takes a while to really sink in. The newness is great, but as you use it and as you're there more and more, it continues to develop and grow, and you find areas that it just impacts things that you weren't thinking of. It's so good.
Yeah, unreal, mate. Well, appreciate you and Steph. Thanks for being such a phenomenal part of our world. You're such generous people, and hospitality second to none as well. So look forward to the next time we get to share a meal with you guys.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it as well.
Thanks, Byron. All right. Well, the person I've asked to share this morning has been a friend for a good couple of years. I'm as I try to see him, a bit unlike him this morning, he's actually wearing a plain coloured t-shirt. He's from the Gold Coast, and when I first met him, he was wearing this outrageously, like, it was kind of like this crazy Hawaiian shirt with all these colours. And I thought, all right, he's making a statement for one night. But every other time I've spent time with him, he's usually wearing a similar type shirt. So it's become his kind of like his calling card in a way. But Brendon, I see you this morning, mate, and what's going on? You're looking a bit plain Jane.
Am I allowed to admit I'm in my pajamas?
Well, you're on the Gold Coast. You and I were actually, well, it was late-ish for me. It wasn't too late for you, but we were involved in something together online last night, which was great, talking stewardship with a heap of the stewardship leaders up in Queensland. So I had a great time with you guys, you and Sal, and then you're backing up 6:15, which
yeah, we got great things going on in Queensland in stewardship space, and I just hope the other states can catch up, really.
Typical Queenslander, always has to sledge. But mate, let's get into it. Let's you run a business. Just quickly, do you mind if I'm stealing any part of the intro? Just cut me off, please. But
go for it, mate.
For people's benefit, you tell us what type of business you run.
All right, so I've been in tourism. I'm in my 20th year in business this year, which is a bit sort of phenomenal because I'm only actually 21, right? But 20 years in business, and I started my first business at 22, and I was in tourism, and I've been in all different aspects from tour businesses, travel agencies, into management rights, so like strata management of holiday hotels, and then into motels, hotels, and resorts. And now my main focus, I have a business called Vision Hotels. We have resorts and motels, and hotels around the country.
Yeah, unreal, mate. You actually, look, a lot of people here may have heard a little bit of your story when you shared, I guess, early COVID, you shared to our Kingdom Builders and also on here, but just very briefly for anyone that may not have, obviously hospitality tourism has taken a whopping hit, especially early days when everything just shut down so fast. Do you just want to just mention what last year looked like for you on that front?
Yeah, well, we were using Zoom before Zoom was a COVID thing, and at the start of COVID last year, I guess I really would have rather have had shares in Zoom than in my own business, because tourism wasn't the place to be. This time last year, and the whole world was about to fall apart, and all the borders were about to close. And we're like, well, what are we going to do? We had about 6 months in us that we thought when we put together our cash flow forecast our COVID cash flow forecast, and that was basically the first thing we did when borders started to close. And we're like, well, we've got 6 months, and we predicted by 6 months we would be out of business and out of everything and have lost it all. And it was a pretty, obviously a pretty tough sort of time. But we were super blessed through COVID, through difficulties. We picked up government contracts. Obviously, the government was very supportive, but we picked up government contracts around COVID, and we picked up other things. And the whole team came together. We were very, very careful with our stewarding our resources and things. And and God blessed it in amazing ways. And we're still here amazingly, because we are so focused on tourism that if all this stuff went down, it would have been real nasty. But it was just amazed with the blessing through difficult times, and to be here on the outside, we're good. And we look a year and a bit later, if we look at our business now compared to the beginning of last year, pre-COVID, we're actually 3 times bigger in terms of our revenue. So 300% in not quite a year and a half, we've grown even through COVID. So it's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, very, very cool, mate. Wow. I mean, yeah, even hearing that again is just inspiring. And Yeah, exciting. Well, we mentioned before you said 20 years plus in business. When we're talking about what you could bring this morning, I know I suggested you bring something very much from your perspective. I always find what helps me, and I'm sure what helps a lot of other people, is when it's real, it's relatable to us. So I might hand over to you. Feel free to introduce what you're going to talk about, and why don't we make Brendon feel welcome, whether it's a clap emoji or a comment on the chat. We're honoured, mate, honoured to know you guys and have you an awesome part of our community. So excited for what you're going to impart to us this morning.
Thanks very much, mate. I'm no preacher myself, but I sort of put together a few ideas. Dan asked me what she said I could talk, and she's like, "Well," I'm like, "What do you want me to talk about?" And he said, "Well, maybe some stuff that you've learned along the way. You've been in business for 20 years, mainly in small business for most of that." It's like, well, what have I learned? So I'm trying to put together what I've learned, and it sort of comes to me pretty quick. I just pretty much refer to the stuff that I rabbit on to my kids about all the time. So we came up with the five lessons, I guess, the 5 biggest lessons that I'd want to share about what I've learned over the last 20 years. So maybe I'll just get stuck into those. Hopefully you'll find them useful, but these 5 things really stand me in good stead for moving forward now. And if I'd known them 20 years ago, I'd probably be a lot further forward than I am at this point. But, so I want to get into it. The first one is I'll give some titles to these. The first one's just do it. Right. I speak to people all the time in church and in business. They have this dream, and it's like, oh, I want to go into business one day. I want to do this. I'm like, well, why don't you? And they're like, oh, I haven't got to it yet. I'm planning on doing it. I'm wanting to do it. I'm like, well, why don't you? Because just stop procrastinating and do it. Because I think that procrastination is the biggest killer of people's visions and people's dreams for the future. I see it so many times. My favorite Bible verse, it's actually on the wall behind me, is Joshua 1:9. Right, it says, "Be strong and courageous." Right, I think we can all be strong and courageous, knowing that God's with us wherever we're going to go. Right, and even if you stuff up, what does it really matter? What does it really matter? I mean, does anyone really want to get to the end of their life and think, oh, I wish I'd done that, or what if I had done that? I always wanted to give it a crack, but I never did. Right? I hired a caravan with my family about 3 years ago, and we spent the summer. We spent 6 weeks in this caravan going through central New South Wales down to Victoria and back again, a bit of a loop. Right, we had the most amazing holiday I think I've ever had together as a family. We just really connected really well, and we said, my wife Sally and I, we talked about it a few times. We said, if we lost everything, we could get a caravan and live in a caravan park, and we'd probably have more fun than what we do now with everything financially that we have. So what does it really, what does it really matter? If you lose everything, you can either start again or whatever. We've got Jesus in our lives. When we have God with us, it doesn't, the other stuff doesn't really matter. If you don't define yourself because of your success, so what does it really matter? Just give it a crack, and if it all doesn't work out, well, so be it. We've got a bit of a motto in our business, and people get sick of it. Our staff get sick of it, us saying it sometimes. It's say yes and figure it out later, right? So that's just what I did when Dan asked me to talk. I was like, yes, righto. How am I going to do that, right? So that's my first point is basically just do it. Right? The second point, which is something that I never ever got taught in school, and I don't understand why we don't get taught this stuff in school. Right? It's like we get taught how to do maths, how to add up A plus B these algebra and stuff, and it just doesn't make any sense. But we don't get taught this. It's the power of compounding, right? Compounding interest, people might have heard about it. Warren Buffett calls it the eighth wonder of the world, right? What is it? It's like, what it is basically interest on interest, or growth on growth, okay? When I started out in business at 22, right, I was going to get rich quick. I was going to become a millionaire within 2 years, and it was going to happen. Had it all. It was easy as. Business is so easy. I can do it. 22. Now, I was 9 years in business before I was even earning the same wage as what I would be earning to do the same job in my own business if I was an employee. 9 years, right? From there, it was 12 years till I actually in business became a millionaire in business, right? So it was only another 9 years and 3 years to go from there to there. Then only 2 years before, another 2 years before I could have actually retired and never worked again, right? And then my continued growth. It's like growth like that. You've seen. We know about compounding from COVID. Because we talked about the growth curve of COVID. It's an exponential sort of growth. So this is what I've experienced this in my life in terms of business, and it's pretty much a business law. It comes if you go into the Bible, it even says in Proverbs is so good. There's so much wisdom, obviously. In Proverbs 13:11, it says, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. Right? So people don't get rich quick. They just don't. It just doesn't happen. The chances of it happening are so minor, right? But the chance of it happening long term is inevitable if you follow the wisdom in the Bible, right? If you follow compounding, every single person in Australia can become a millionaire. There's not a single person that can't over time if they start early enough, right? How do you become a millionaire? You can become a millionaire as a dole bludger in Australia, right? How do you do it? You put away $30 a week. $30 a week. If you do that for 50 years into an index fund, like a share fund, you do it for 50 years, $30 a week, you'll become a millionaire, right? It's as easy as that. Every single person on the dole can put away $30 a week. Never do a day's work in your life and become a millionaire in Australia. It's amazing. The power of compounding is something that we really should teach in school, right? So time and time again, always gets proven. So number 2 is compounding. Number 3, I want to talk. I'm always so negative. People think I'm so Mr. Negative, right? Is that number 3 is that you will fail. You will fail. It's inevitable, right? Maybe let's twist this around and say, okay, let's call this one tenacity, growing tenacity, right? It's classic in the movie Rocky, right? But Rocky says, what basically is what makes him successful. He said, going one more round when you don't think you can, right? That's what makes all the difference in life, right? My kids get so sick of me talking about tenacity, right? I went to my daughter's school and I did a talk at the school, and we just talked about tenacity the whole time, right? It's such an important thing. They say that tenacity is the number 1 trait of successful people around the world. Right, 19 out of 20 businesses in Australia will fail in their first 5 years. 19 out of 20. That's like the stats are totally against it. Against you. What makes your business, if you're a startup, what makes you better than them? What makes you any different to them? If we're not arrogant, we're probably like nothing really. I'm no better than anyone else. Right. So why is your business going to succeed when 19 out of 20 are going to fail? It's probably not. Right. Then what are you going to do when your business fails? Right. Well, you can either quit and go back to your job, right, or your old job that you used to do beforehand, or you can sit down in a pool of misery, right, or you can get back up again, right. And then when you get hit again, you can get back up again, and then again and again. And eventually, if you do it long enough, something will work. If you do it long enough, something will succeed, right? Because every time that you fail, you learn. Now, I've got a mate who started in business about 10 years ago. He's had the smoothest road. He's like the money started falling from the sky as soon as he went into business. Never been in business before. I'm like, how is this possible, man? I'm slaving away here, and you're like the money's falling from the sky. And we look at him 10 years later. He's still in business. He still has never had a day of difficulty in his business, I don't think. And I was like, how does this happen? But the guy, he's still broke. He's in business, got a good business, spending every dollar that he earns. He's not moved forward at all, right? He's not learnt anything, because when you things are good, you don't learn anything. He's also full of pride, because it's all about him, right? All about him. So that's we just got to be really, I guess, mindful that that tenacity is going to be a huge movement in our success, or how we deal with that. It could be a huge movement in our failure. Right? My worst business that I had, I call it my worst business. I got stuck in a business for 5 years because of the GFC. We go back to 2008. I bought a business just before 2008. And I got stuck in it for 5 years. It was absolutely horrible. I got, it was in the strata management space, and it was really emotionally difficult. But I got stuck in it for 5 years, and I couldn't get out of it. It was absolutely horrible. It was like every day nearly I wanted to quit, but I couldn't. The only way I was quitting was going bankrupt. So if I quit, I go bankrupt, or I can just keep it out. Eventually, the difficult season went through. Right. We've also nearly gone broke. I mean, Purdy just explained about COVID, but we've 2 other times, in 2008 and 2012. We nearly went to the wall. The first time was certainly my fault. The second time, well, was my fault. But so the times, I guess the road isn't easy in business, right? We can't expect it to be. When we look at Mark Zuckerberg and say, "Oh, I'm going to be him," right? Well, there's only one of them. Chances are you're not, but chances are if you go the yards, you'll do it. All right. The third one I want to talk about was looking after the ship. Again, my kids get so sick of me talking about ships. I love boats, but talking about ships is I can do it, and so many analogies around fish and around ships. I just love it. But your business is like a ship, right? So if your ship sinks, so does everything that you're ever going to do with it, right? So your dream, your vision, how your business helps others, right? Okay, it's not the end of the world if your business fails, right? You can get back up again. We go back up to the other one, the tenacity. But you don't want your business to fail. I don't want my business to fail. I don't want to go broke. No one does. No, you don't set out in business to say, "Oh, I'm going to fail, so I learn a lesson." No, you don't want it to do it. So you need to be thinking like a captain, right? What's going to sink your ship, right? And then try and take control of those factors as best as you can. I reckon the hardest one is people, like your crew on your ship, right? You get, the good captains, like Captain Cook. We go back hundreds of years. He was a strong captain. He was a strong captain. I've been too soft. I've been too soft for too many years, so many years, right? So, and I see so many business people who are like that as well. They're really, really soft with their crew. They're trying to look after their crew, but they wouldn't be that soft with their kids. Right now, your staff are sort of like your kids in a lot of ways. You've got a responsibility over them. Your kids want to have the guardrails in place so they don't fall off a cliff, right? So they know where they stand. But why don't you put your guardrails in place for your staff so your staff know where they stand so they don't fall off a cliff, right? So many people don't do that. Right, and then when the staff push those boundaries, they don't get pulled back in. I've done this so many times. If you have weak staff, your ship is highly likely to sink. Right, I've seen it. So you need to be a strong captain. It's far better to lose one of your crew members, right, than if the ship sinks and you lose everyone. right? Because if your ship, or you might be employing however many people you're employing. If your ship goes down, your business fails, everyone's out of a job, right? Everything that you ever wanted to do with that business is no longer going to happen. So when you've got a problem, right, maybe you got to think of it, you got to be a bit of a pirate captain, right? You got to make people walk the plank, right? You do it fast, right? Do it fast. Get rid of them now, right? The longer you wait, because this is going to happen inevitably with some people, then the more leaks that person, it's like that person's there banging holes in the hull of the ship, right? The longer you wait, the more holes you're going to have, the more likely the ship's going to be sinking. So you've got to move people fast, especially bad-hearted people, right? Bad-hearted people, they got to go as soon as you can. Deal with it later. So just get rid of them, right? A bad attitude within a business is like a cancer, and it will go from one person to another person to another person to another person so quickly. If you don't get rid of it, if you don't cut it out, right, it's just going to spread. And then soon you're going to be actually removing everyone, right? So you've got to be a strong captain, strong with people, show people respect, give people a chance, but then when they continue to push the boundaries and do the wrong thing, right, then you need to move people as fast as you can. As soon as you know this person is not going to work out, move them on, find someone great. There is so many great people out there. We have so many great people within our business, right? So many great people. But we have people come into the business and then they go. Then they come and then they go, right? Because we need to move those people on, right? The fifth one is taking responsibility and having a vision on what you're doing, right? It's because it's your business. If you're going to be the captain, you can't be blaming the crew, right? Everything that goes right or goes wrong in your business is your fault, right? When your staff do something that's wrong, it's not their fault, it's your fault. When your business goes and stuff things up, it's not COVID's fault, right? It's your fault, right? If you take responsibility for external factors as well as internal factors within the business, it's not a case of getting wallowing up in a ball and saying, oh, I'm so pathetic. Right, it's a case of taking responsibility for all of those different factors within the business. And once you take responsibility, then you can work through a particular problem, and then you can get out the other side. Right. Proverbs 16:18 says, "With pride comes dishonor, but with the humble is wisdom." Right, being humble means that you can learn and grow from those mistakes. Right, I always say, if someone knows everything, you can't teach them nothing because they already know, right? And I say this to all of our staff our managers when they becoming managers, don't be prideful. I've seen it so many times. People are just, I can't ask that question. I'll look stupid. Well, you'll look a whole bunch more stupid when you don't ask the question and you don't learn, and then down the line you fail because all you needed to do was actually ask someone, how do I do this, right? So just ask the question. Ask the question. Don't be too proud to ask someone how to do it. Also, don't think it's all about you. Right. I go back to the first time we nearly went under. It was in 2008. Right. So in 2008, I took responsibility for all this stuff. I bought my first house. Sounds great. Well, I also bought a new car, not a secondhand car, but a new car for me. I bought a new car for my wife. I bought a new boat for me. Right. I bought a new business for me, and then I went. My wife and I. And this is in 2008 financial year. Then my wife and I, we traveled over to Africa, and we spent 3 months touring around Africa, all in 1 year. Right? I was the man. I was like, yeah, I'm the man. I'm Mr. Success. Right? It's all about me. Right? It was all about me. So I didn't in that year. I don't think I gave any money at all to any charity. I don't think I gave any. Wouldn't have given any money to church back then either. So it's all about me. Then very, very quickly after that, God started to humble us, right? Or God started to humble me. It's not all about me. We proceeded to go in the space of like me getting back from Africa and looking at where things were. In the space of like weeks, we started to go broke. right? And we were like, shh, like this. And I was like, what are we going to do? Right? What are we going to do? And it happened so quick. We had to sell up. Eventually we sold up our house. We got rid of the boat. We nearly went down in terms of business. Everything went down. It's like, oh, maybe I'm not so good. Maybe I'm actually not as good a businessman as I thought, or maybe I'm not actually that great, and maybe it's not all about me. Maybe that's the wrong way to do it. Right? It's okay to have nice things. I've got no problem with having a nice thing. It's very nice to, it's great to have nice things. And each to their own. This is not set in judgment. I've got a nice house. I'm happy with my nice house. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to live in a caravan. I mean, I say that I could, but I definitely don't want to. Right? But there's no problem having nice things. But don't make the main thing be about those nice things, right? The main thing should always be about God, and then it should be about others, right? Not about me, right? Not about me, because if the main thing is about me, then I'm going to get caught up in my own pride, which is inevitably going to come out, because I think it's within all of us. We have that ability to be prideful, because especially within men, there's that male testosterone sort of thing, and the pride that comes with that. So it's always a constant battle of pushing that down. But by putting God first, right, and putting others second, right, then that helps to keep that pride down and realize, actually, it's not about me. I'm not actually that important. I'm not actually that good at what I'm doing, right? So I was totally lost. So in 2014, so we started to do all right again. We sold a medium-sized business, let's call it, and we could now retire, right? I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? Because I've sort of lost my sense of purpose. And we still had one business that we were working on, and I was sort of fiddling around with that, and that was okay as well. But I pretty much spent the next year, up until the September of 2015, just fiddling around, going for beach walks, enjoying life, but at the same time praying about what does God want from me now? Why would God put me in this position, and then just leave me in here? What do you want me to do next? Right? It's waiting for that path to be made clear. It's so important to know what that path was, right? And one day, randomly, up on North Burleigh Hill, I was given what I called the vision, right? So now what we do is all about the vision, right? It's up on the office wall, right? Just beside me. I've got it up here. It's on our website, right? Our main business that we're working is even called Vision Hotels, right? Every staff member that comes on board gets inducted into the vision. When we talk about the business, we talk about the vision. We don't talk about Vision Hotels. We say, the vision's doing this. Right? Our managers at each of our hotels, they're the vision carriers. Right? They carry the vision into that business. Right? It's why we do what we do, and it's it's basically our purpose. Right? Proverbs, we've all heard Proverbs again, 29:18 says, where there's no vision, the people perish. And maybe that wasn't just about, maybe it wasn't about business being spoken in that context, but I think in business we can feel that same way. I think our success in the current stuff that we're doing, I think that comes from God's blessing of the vision, right? That vision also gives each person that the organization comes into contact with, especially the staff, a reason to go and deal with that organization. It gives the staff a reason to go to work, not just the money. Okay, that's always going to be their number one priority, right? But it's also about something bigger than themselves. It's sort of like like Hillsong has with Brian's vision. I think having the Brian's vision in Hillsong, I think that's a huge part, an absolute huge part. I mean, I'm sure Pastor Brian does as well. That's why it's on the wall of every church. It's a huge part of why God is blessing Hillsong as a church. Is because we have a visionary. We talk about Pastor Brian as being a visionary leader, right? He is, visionary. It doesn't. The vision will point you where you're going, right? Just as importantly as that, it's also going to point you where you're not going, right? So you can actually, when you start to, if you're heading this way and you start to diverge, you're heading over this way, you can like, that's not to do with the vision, right? And you start to sort of, you can come back in. So that's just as important. So I totally recommend, putting in as much time as you can to getting God's vision for your business. Again, it might not happen overnight, and it might be something that gradually evolves with time. Right. But I think God, having God's vision in your business will really, really enable you to move forward. So just to recap, there's the five things we talked about today. So number one was just do it. So stop procrastinating and give something a crack. Right. The second thing is learning about compounding. So compounding interest, compounding in growth in your life, and working on that particular philosophy. Right, or mathematical equation more so than philosophy. The third one is developing tenacity, right, or being cool with failure, right, because it will happen. Number 4 is looking after your business as a ship, thinking about it as a ship, not focused completely on one crew member, but looking at the bigger picture of the business as a ship, right. And then number 5 is taking responsibility for everything that goes down, and then having a vision for where you're headed towards. Cool. So that were the things I wanted to share with you guys today. Hope you've got something out of that. Maybe we can throw for any questions that that you guys might like to share on or talk about on that.
Brendo, sensational, mate. Thank you. That was really good. Something that I particularly picked up on that was you kept mentioning almost jokingly how your kids get sick of you using these examples, and I just thought, mate, it's so incredible to see you. You see, I know your kids as a primary age kids. You're bringing your kids on this journey and imparting and investing into your kids. Like, mate, it was. I just think what a legacy for them. You mentioned earlier, you don't learn some of this stuff in school when you're talking about compounding. And gee, how blessed your kids are to grow up. They probably shake their head and go, "Oh, Dad, here he goes again, the ship analogy or whatever." But just imparting such gold. I know most people don't have that experience. So, mate, thank you. I know we did discuss possibly doing questions. When I asked you to speak, you said yes, and then you were figuring it out. And I said I might have a few questions. Look, we're almost bang on time. So let's do questions another time. But
awesome.
I appreciate it. I am going to get you to pray before we go, but I just wanted to just throw to one more person before that, if that's all right, Brendo, and then you can pray for us right before we go out in the hour. Look, worth mentioning, I think today is 12 months since we've been doing these online business connects, which is pretty cool. I think we started 12 months ago this week. So happy 1 year anniversary, everyone. But I guess thinking about it, like this, I believe has ignited a lot more activity in the business space in our church. And my role being the stewardship pastor, when I first came on, Pastor Brian did a series of messages around money, spoke around money, and he kept speaking about kingdom entrepreneurs. And Brendo, you're just an absolutely stellar example of a kingdom entrepreneur, and talk about raising them up through our church. And I think things like this are just the start of what I believe we can and will be doing in our church. And we want to stimulate so much more activity and energy in this space. So I'm not just saying that, as a off the cuff comment, really are. We're intentionally putting work to continue to build. One of the things we're going to do locally here in Sydney, and please don't feel excluded if you're not in Sydney, but in a couple of weekends, I know some of the girls in Sydney, we're going to gather locally. Amanda Tay, who I think Amanda's on this morning, might get you to jump on and maybe just tell us about that, Amanda, because you were going to be instrumental in just pulling together some of the girls that have been maybe connecting on this platform and beyond. And possibly, I don't want to, throw it, but possibly if there's a way for girls interstate to just connect in and watch on part of that morning, or if we can record it, do something like, again, just building community around that. But Amanda, do you just want to say a couple of words around what's happening April 10th?
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully you can hear me because the screen keeps going blank for some reason. But on April 10th, which is only a couple of weeks away, the group of us organising it, we're going to get all the Kingdom women together in their new Macquarie Hillsong campus, which is, as we said, we went earlier this week. It's absolutely beautiful. So quick details, 9:30, entry for a 10 o'clock start from 10 till 12. And we're really just going to have, we've got a panel of kingdom women, and they're going to be sharing their wisdom, much like the wisdom that we've heard today, and it's going to be amazing. I'm going to bring a thought, and there's going to be a bit of structured, unstructured time, if you would. So if you think about, I mean, I'm a big believer that all the answers are in the room. And if you think about any sort of event you go to, not that this is an event, it's a gathering, but sometimes the best takeaways are the conversations that you have afterwards. So we're going to have some real unstructured time, but structure it so that you can really speak into each other's businesses, give some practical advice as well. I mean, I think it's so powerful. I mean, we've got so many incredible women that are just intelligent, brilliant, anointed for the season, anointed for the marketplace, and come together. So I think, you know, men, while you're not part of the Woman Business Connect brief, you are, and that we would love you to also spread the word. Dan, I don't know if you can, if you have put up the link, but you know, if you know anyone in your life, yourself or anyone that wants to speak into other people's businesses, or wants to have someone speak into theirs, or just in general pray together, hang out, learn, yeah, please register. We would actually really love your support. We believe there's a need, and I guess you'll tell us if there is, but we would love for you to be there. And I think it's going to be a really special morning.
Yeah, awesome. And I think we're going to organise a bit of food. We've got to cover some real costs with that. So it does, you know, we did ask for $15 registration, but hey, if you're going out with breakfast and some girlfriends on a Saturday morning, you're spending more than that anyway, I reckon. So, so look, there'll just be some nibbles. Not anyway. What we can do with, you know, COVID restrictions and stuff. But anyway, yeah, I think it'll be incredible. And even like, for instance, I met Kylie. I said, Kylie's online. I met Kylie on Sunday, and she was just mentioning, you know, she's got very real needs. And I was thinking, there's got to be people in our community that could like solve some of the things she's believing for. Some of the, you know, what do we call it? Venue challenges for a business. I'm like, yeah, I reckon, you know, just connecting and networking, there's a lot we can be doing together. And I'm excited for that, and excited to just keep moving things forward here. But Brendo, do you want to pray for us, mate, and send us into our day? Thanks again for this morning. That was an absolute impartation, and I personally gleaned so much off that. So do you want to pray for us, and then we'll get into our day, hey?
Okay. Thank you, Lord, for this time together, Lord. And thank you so much for all the good that you do in all of the world, and also in our lives and in Hillsong Church. Lord, help us to all be pillars of that church, and help us to share and impart all of what we have in you with other people, Lord, as the week goes on. Lord, please bless our businesses and bless our lives and our families, Lord. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thanks again, Brendo. Everyone, have an awesome day, awesome week. Send some loves and thanks to Brendo. Appreciate it, mate, carving out the time.
Thanks, eh?
Yeah, you're a blessing, you and Sal. All right. Much love, everyone. Take care.
Have a great day.